Have you ever wondered how a financial advisor gets paid? This really matters because how financial advisors are paid impacts how they treat you. And obviously, money has something to do with their paycheck, which might have to do with greed, but this goes beyond money and greed. This also comes down to the products, services, just the overall advice they're even able to offer you. Many of us, when we invest money, we have a fear. We're going to buy this investment based on the advice given to us by a financial advisor, and then what if that investment goes bad? Will the advisor pick up their phone? Will the advisor help us when things start going in the wrong direction? What happens if things don't go well? Now, this could happen with any advisor, so let's look at a couple. Let's call this first advisor Lester. Lester only sells the products and services for the company he works for. Whereas Stan, who's independent, he can sell products, services, and investments from pretty much any company out there. Now let's talk about Lester. He works for, let's say, Acme Investments.
I made a mistake. When we were filming this video, I told Grant to say Acme Investments because I thought that sounded like a fake investment company that we could use as our hypothetical investment firm. But as it turns out, upon some further research after filming, I learned that Acme is a venture capital fund in California. But anytime we reference Acme in this video, we are intending to talk about a fake investment company called Acme. Sorry for the mix-up. Everybody makes mistakes. Lesson I learned. Next time, do my research ahead of time. Back to the video.
He can only sell Acme Investments investment strategies or products or services. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Acme might have some really great investment strategies. They might have awesome investment products. But Lester can only sell you what Acme is offering. This limits your options, and those options may be very important for you in the future. Now, here's Stan. He has options. He is an independent advisor, meaning he might be able to sell investment products or services from the same company that Lester works for. He can also offer products and services from a bunch of different companies. Here's why independence is important. It's extremely hard for any one company to be all things to all people. So who's to say Lester's company is the best for your situation right now? And even if it is, who's to say Lester's company will be the best for your situation 5 years from now? Now, Stan, he can evaluate your personal financial situation now and find the best company, the best investments for you today. And he can make adjustments to your investments, to your financial situation as your life is also adjusting. Again, there's nothing wrong with Lester. He too can make adjustments to your investments as your life changes, but he's only able to offer you the products from the company he works for. Whereas Stan, he can look around to all the different companies, and those options should provide a much better return on your investments and more peace of mind. Now that was about the options. Let's talk about how Lester and Stan are actually paid, how they're compensated. Lester's company provides a commission for a sale of certain investments, meaning Lester could get paid money if he sells you an investment, regardless if it's good for you or not. Here's an example of how this would work. Let's say Acme creates a new mutual fund, a new investment opportunity. And in order for them to sell this investment opportunity, well, they're gonna go to all of their employees and create a sales special. Hey, Acme employees, Lester, if you sell this mutual fund, we will pay you an additional commission. Or they might say, whoever sells the most of this new mutual fund will win a trip to Puerto Rico. These aren't necessarily bad. However, you can see that the compensation is tied more to the product rather than the compensation being tied to the investment performance for you and your personal financial situation. I think you can see how this would impact the advice the financial advisor is giving you, right? You may have got amazing service from Lester when he sold you that investment because it paid him a great one-time commission when he sold it to you. But if that investment goes bad, what incentive does he have to pick up the phone? Unless he thinks he can sell you another investment to make another commission. which is another common experience that people have when working with companies like Acme. Their sales associates like Lester will only call the customer when there's a new incentive or a new investment opportunity for them to earn more income, because the more investments they sell, the more commission they'll get, regardless if it's good for you or not. Does that feel like a conflict of interest to you? Now let's talk about Stan. Here's the big difference with Stan. Stan is legally required to be a fiduciary. That means he has to put your needs ahead of anything else. He must know you as the client and only give advice that is genuinely in your best interest. And there are countless legal authorities that are going to keep Stan accountable to that. Any advice that's given, he must prove why that advice was in your best interest. Most people, like Stan, their income is based off a percentage of the investments they manage for you. Here's what this means. If you have $100,000 invested with Stan, he might charge a fee of 1% every year. Now, if your investment value goes down because it didn't perform well, guess what happens to Stan's income? It also goes down. But if Stan's investment advice produces great returns for you, and now your investment balance goes from $100,000 to $110,000, well, all of a sudden Stan too gets a raise. So back to our example, if Stan sells you an investment that didn't do very well, and you call Stan, he has to pick up the phone. He needs to make sure that your money stays invested with him in order to continue having an income. Here's the bottom line. Lester's income, it's tied to a transaction, whereas Stan's income is tied to an ongoing relationship. So which do you want in your financial advisor? Now, speaking of conflicts of interest, I'm a financial advisor, and the company I own, Stewardship Financial, we are an independent investment advisory. And sure, there is some bias there, but the advice is not the bias. The bias is what I believe is genuinely best for our community. People like Lester and Acme, they're not evil, they're not terrible, and again, sometimes they do provide some pretty good options for folks. But for the long term, I genuinely believe that companies like Stan and the independent advisory is what's best for consumers when it comes to financial advice and investment management. If I didn't believe that was right, I would have set up my company different. Now that you know how investment advisors get paid, watch this video to see how insurance agents get paid.